Whoop piss ass. Whoop piss ass.
Ooh, bacon.
Greetings, tasty morsels. This is Reverse BLT here, and I'm about to watch episode 6 of the third season of The Mandalorian, which is entitled Guns for Hire. That's a very interesting title. I don't know who the Guns for Hire are going to be, but considering that, we have certain people we're following, I'm going to assume it's going to be either Din and the Mandalorians currently on Nevarro, or it's going to be some group of Mandalorians that get encountered by Bo-Katan, who has been sent on her mission as of last episode to go out and sort of like, try to bring the other Mandalorians together with Death Watch to form a new unified Mandalorian society. I'm still not quite sure I understand exactly why. Well, I understand why the armorer had her remove her helmet to go off to talk to the other Mandalorians. I'm just still trying to understand what she thinks is going to be the ultimate result of all this, because Death Watch believes firmly, you take your helmet off, you're not Mandalorian anymore. The armorer herself exiled Din for that, and has now told one of their own, because Bo-Katan was accepted back into their version of the Creed after redeeming herself in the Living Waters. The armorer has now told her, "Hey, that's fine. Take your helmet off and go out and talk to the other Mandalorians." So there's just a lot of fundamental sort of issues to hammer out there in terms of what that means for their belief system, and I'm just not sure what the armor thinks will be the fallout from all of that. Like, what will they all be swearing to? Because she said they all need to walk the creed together, right? But what is the creed now? I personally, as I've been saying all along, I think the creed, that most of what they practice under the creed is excellent. But certain things like never being able to remove your helmet, I think that's just utterly stupid. And so I would love to see that fall by the wayside. It seems that the armorer is the only one in the position to be able to change aspects of the creed that way, or to change how they will practice the creed going forward. And so I'm guessing that's what she's thinking now, is that will be the new version of the creed, is that, you wear your helmet when you're in battle, and, maybe they'll come up with an idea of, like, rather than, have you ever removed your helmet? They'll just keep the part of, has anyone else ever forced you to remove your helmet? Like an enemy, has an enemy bested you? Which is basically how I always interpreted that. Which, I still think is a little too harsh, but at least makes more sense than not ever taking your helmet off.
Shun the non-believer!
So yeah, so I'm hoping that I'm right in my second interpretation here, that the Guns for Hire will be another group of Mandalorians that Bo-Katan will encounter. Because A, it's always nice to see new people, or maybe even some old faces, because were those guys, the Mandalorians who were with her when Din first met her. But also, other parts of the Star Wars galaxy is always fun to see, and that will get us to another location. And also, I have a feeling that, as this is episode 6, I would only leave 2 episodes after this, so essentially the finale. And we've got Moff Gideon out there, who supposedly, who may have been taken by other Mandalorians because of the Beskar that was found embedded in the wall in the shuttle that he was taken from. I'm hoping that this is where all that stuff will dovetail together, So the Guns for Hire, maybe they were the Mandalorians who took Gideon, and Bo-Katan meeting them brings it all together, then brings Din back into it, the darksaber back into it. All the stuff starts to coalesce, and if I was right from last season's speculation that Moff Gideon has something to do with whatever's going on with Thrawn in the background off wherever he is, then that also brings that part into this a little bit more. So I'm kind of excited to see where we're going to get into right now. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and see what episode 6 has in store for us. Find out who these Guns for Hire are.
When I returned without the darksaber, my forces melted away,
Where is the stolen fleet?
making their way through the galaxy as mercenaries.
Ah, okay, so they are the guns for hire. I still need an explanation for who the hell this guy was. Part of me still thinks that he's freaking, that somehow he's freaking, oh, for crying out loud, I can't think of his name right now. General Grievous.
Creed.
Like the last remnant.
Bo-Katan walks both worlds. She can bring all tribes together.
It's interesting that they didn't include any of the stuff with Gideon, the transport shuttle that was taking Gideon to trial at the end of last episode in that recap. So I guess we're not going to touch on that until episodes 7 and 8. We're getting some funky little musical motifs lately. I'm digging them. All right, so what is this ship? Is that Bacta? Is that a snack?
Sabira an here nara empire kippin.
Empire. Apasabara habita.
Is this a flashback, or is this just an Imperial remnant? Not them, but the ship that they saw. One of the perks of being captain, I guess, huh? You're the only one who gets to enjoy hanging out in in water.
We are Mandalorian.
Oh, okay. The
And sadly,
stolen fleet.
you're too late to hire us. You see, we've been commissioned to track you down, Captain Shuggoth.
Shoggoth, like Shogoth? Is it because of the tentacles?
We love each other.
Sorry, I gotta bring you back home to your folks. After that, you can do whatever you want. Okay, let's make this quick. We've got a contract waiting for us on Plaisir 15.
Did you close out your comms? You know, just letting people hear you?
We knew fate was not on our side,
Who cares about fate? I love you.
and I will always love you.
Tentacles!
Come with us, Prince.
Man, that was quick.
You can do this. I'll see you again.
It's a long ride home.
I thought Mandalorians were honorable.
We are, kid. All it takes is a few credits.
That's a great line, actually. Yeah, I mean, I guess, hey, mercenaries with a code of honor. If you gotta hire privateers, those are the ones you want. Oh, so, okay, Din went with
There we
her.
are.
What did he do, leave his ship back on the other, on Nevarro? Because I don't think that his ship will fit inside of this ship, will it? Unless this thing is way bigger than I thought.
It's probably best if we go in on foot.
Welcome to Plaisir 15.
For a second there, I thought it was like a ringtone.
Engaging automated guidance.
Well, I didn't know that ships could be slaved that way. Surprised we don't see that used more often. It'd be a very easy way to attack an incoming ship. Just slave it, and you can shoot it out of the sky at your leisure.
This is interesting.
Repurposed Imperial droids. Or at least one would assume from the coloring.
Why do they have Imperial droids on an independent world?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Your presence has been requested by the leadership of the planetary democracy.
I'm afraid we have more pressing matters. Perhaps at a later time.
Please do not attempt to leave the vehicle. This is not a request.
But you just said that it was requested. That seemed like it accelerated a little too fast for human bodies to handle.
Do you think we're gonna have to blast our way out of here?
We'll find out.
You should assume you're being monitored.
Come! Everyone, special guests! Mandalorian
That freaking Jack Black.
executions.
And I know her. I can't think of her name, but she's like a singer or something, isn't she? Wait a minute. Are we gonna get Egg Lady?
No.
You were Imperial?
He was.
Lizzo.
We fell in love.
We fell in love. We did fall in love.
She's doing all right with her vocal modulation as while line reading. She speaks his language.
We held direct democratic elections for the first time in our history.
We are both royals and elected leaders.
What? How's that work?
You really must see the view.
What on earth is that behind her? It's like a holographic peacock. All right, so I'm guessing they just
have a problem.
want to speak in private.
A
Yeah.
droid problem.
What kind of droid problem?
I mean, nothing too serious at first. Unexpected power.
Oh,
cycles, deleted
it's a holographic
It
train.
got worse.
That's kind of cool.
heavy equipment failures leading to injury.
Sabotage.
Assault? Battle droids?
Former battle droids. They've been rehabilitated for civic duty.
We thought.
They were.
Obviously.
They have good chemistry.
Our charter forbids any standing army from entering our city. Our constables aren't even allowed to carry blasters.
But you allowed us to be armed?
Exactly.
Because you're not,
The
you
people
don't
have
work for
voted
them.
we are a pluralistic society. You are Mandalorians. Weaponry and armor are intrinsic to your culture, are they not?
Oh, clever. They use the religious loophole.
Unlike my brethren outside your city walls, I am not a mercenary.
Apologies if that is the impression I gave. What I intended to convey is that I would hope that this excursion would be viewed as an act of diplomacy between our two planets. Plaisir 15 would formally recognize Mandalore as a sovereign system and petition the new Republic to recognize it as such.
So that's a big deal.
You had me at battle droids.
These droids were all
He just wants to fight.
the community from the start.
Christopher Lloyd!
The droids reprogramming was a complete success.
But he's too big of an actor to be here for nothing but a cameo, so I'm guessing that he's the one who's actually reprogramming the droids. Calling it now. Roger, roger. Run, people!
Why not turn them all off? Who's in charge of that?
Yeah.
I was finished with voting against any interruption in droid services. If we shut down the droids, our citizens wouldn't know how to survive.
Oh my goodness. Are we really getting an episode preaching against, you know, the dangers of a society that isn't slaving away working all the time?
See what happens when you rely on droids.
Are you taking this personally?
Just pointing it out.
I thought you had gotten over your anti-droid bias, man. Have you learned nothing?
I am Mandalorian Din Djarin, friend of Ugnaught Queel. You will answer our questions and help us with our task. I have spoken.
Okay. Good thing he came along.
We know that Ugnaughts are considered the hardest working species in the galaxy. We,
Right out
like
loud.
you, have been engaged with a task to perform.
So it's just about saving face.
The droids you seek.
Thank you. We are in your debt. I have spoken. They've indicated that there's a likelihood that the next event will be at the loading docks.
If they can be relatively certain of when the next malfunction will occur, then it's definitely a coordinated effort by someone.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Why is that?
Well, as a precaution. Their base function was warfare. What are you doing?
This reminds me of the way people test dogs for temperament.
Excuse me.
They like do messed up things to them, like push them around or try to take their food to see if they react. It's like, what do you expect? Of course it's going to react. Now I'm beginning to wonder if maybe it's not that they're being reprogrammed to be violent, if it's just their core programming being what it was. They're having like a crisis, almost like a psychological crisis, having these like competing drives going on, you know? Like, here I am, I'm a machine built for war. I'm supposed to be fighting and killing things, but here I am, I'm supposed to be carrying boxes all day, you know? And, you know, you put enough stress on an organic, biological creature, it's going to resort to its instincts.
Keep going!
You know, a lot of people look goofy when they run, but I know it's a weird thing to point out, but Katie Sackhoff actually looks good when she runs.
You're weird. This is a crime scene. Thank you for standing back.
This reminds me of Wall-E.
I found a spark pad.
What's it say?
The resistor.
Sounds like a droid bar.
Have we ever seen droid bars before? I think we have. I'm trying to remember where, though. I seem to have a distinct memory of us seeing a droid bar before.
You kicking droids is really not helpful.
I figured out which one was malfunctioning, didn't I?
You did it your way, now let me do it mine, okay?
It's the part in the buddy cop story where they butt heads. Then they should have a huge falling out, then get back together and be stronger than ever. Oh wait, okay, I know what it was. I think I saw it in the trailer or something for this season, or maybe it was a clip that was shown online. Because this, I think, it might be what I saw. Yeah, they walk in and all the droids are like, what the heck? We don't serve your kind here.
That spark pad was found on a rogue battle droid.
We give out lots of spark pads.
What is a spark pad?
You can check my registry. We are in full compliance with planetary biological.
If you don't start answering questions, I'll yank your memory circuit and dissect it back at the lab.
Good cop, bad cop.
The New Republic would send them to scrap, but here on Plaisir they are given a second chance. Human life is so short. They don't ask that much of us. Organics created us. It's the least we can do.
I love getting these looks into these cultures that were basically just there as set dressing or plot points before, like the droids and the sand people and things like that.
The Penthe reprograms the droids that drink here?
It patches the programming as the commands of the mainframe change.
It's both oil and a programming delivery system? How does that work?
Magic!
Their oil must be some sort of nanoparticles.
It seems the malfunctioning droids all imbibed from the same batch of Nepenthe.
These are the remains of the latest malfunctioning droid.
Well, that's kind of like a morgue. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me to be like a morgue when it's droids, but hey. Have you guys ever watched Ghost in the Shell standalone complex? This is reminding me of the natural oil subplot. Yes. Don't even get me started on non-profit organizations. Ah.
What are the chances that they're still active?
Whoa! What the? Ready for the darksaber. How are you still alive, though, lady?
They're still active.
Poor droid.
What's that?
Just an aberration in the metal. Probably malleability limitations at this scale.
No, it's writing.
Imperial writing, right?
It's a chain code.
If it has a chain code, then we should be able to determine its point of origin.
I've never understood exactly how chain codes work.
Educate yourself, you fool.
I always thought chain codes belonged only to living creatures. Or you know what I mean, like humans and aliens, not droids.
How did it arrive?
They were requisitioned by the security office.
Is that unusual?
It's illegal.
Black Ops.
Droids were ordered by an individual. Our head of security.
Told you.
Commissioner Hellgate.
Hellgate? Really? I didn't even notice his name was Hellgate. I tell you, Star Wars, you are not subtle sometimes, man.
Count Dooku was a visionary. He was cut short in his prime by the Jedi and forces.
Nicely done, Bo. Because there are times to take direct action. I never expected to see someone pop up again who was a separatist. That's what, like 40 years ago now? In their continuity? Grogu, are you cheating? You helping them win?
What's your blast? I've never seen such a streak.
We found the cause of your malfunctions.
Despicable. If that isn't a quacta calling the stifling slack.
Okay.
Is there no room for a little bit of forgiveness in a galaxy so vast?
I am sorry to have disappointed you, my lady. Perhaps someday I can earn such forgiveness from your grace.
Perhaps. As for now, you must live in exile on the moon of Paraquat.
Is the moon of Paraquat really horrible? Is anyone going to, like, go... Okay, I was about to say, is anyone going to make sure that he actually does it?
Lady Bo-Katan and Din of Concordia, I grant you audience with our deployment of Mandalorian privateers. I also give to you both the key to Plaisir.
Is it an actual key? Usually not a real key when people give you that. Don't forget your promise to recognize Mandalore.
And to this little one, I grant knighthood. You are now a knight of the Ancient Order of Independent Regencies.
Look at you, Grogu.
My lord, my lady.
Sir Knight. Sir Grogu.
Now approaching landing field 3.
They're Mandalorians. You're their leader. They're going to follow you.
They're gonna follow you, dude. You have the darksaber.
I'm now in command and grown quite fond of it.
Well, beat them up and take it, since that appears to be the way.
Then I challenge you.
Jeez, dude. You're not nearly as good at this as she is, it appears. Whoop piss ass. Whoop piss ass. Jeez, dude, you're reckless. Risking hurting your own people trying to get her. Honey, I think you're gonna have to kill him.
Enough Mandalorian blood has been spilled by your own hands.
He didn't yield.
A misguided zealot possesses the blade. One, I might add, who has not one drop of Mandalorian blood in his veins.
He's from Concordia. It's in the same system. How is he not Mandalorian?
The ruler of Mandalore must possess the darksaber.
Then she shall have it.
You can't give it to her, remember? It has to be won in battle.
It's not a gift to be given, no matter how well intended.
It's not a gift.
Okay, I was wondering if this was going to be something that could be used. She
While
took it
exploring Mandalore,
from the
I was
creature to beat
captured,
him. Yeah.
And this blade was taken from me. Bo-Katan rescued me and slayed my captor. Would this blade then not belong to her?
When you use Harry Potter rules.
It would.
Okay. I don't know if I like what the music just did, though. Kind of implying that this was maybe a bad choice. Okay. It's starting to swell into a more positive note, but it definitely went into a weird, dark-sounding tone for a minute there. Go ahead, light it up. Oh, hail the Mandalore.
Turn the friggin' frogs gay!
Well, that was definitely interesting. Like I said, I'm kind of thrown off a little bit by the weird sort of dark tone that the music took when he did that. When Din gave her the darksaber, the music seemed to be kind of telling me that this was not the best decision. But on the other hand, it does work, because in the episode where he got ambushed, on Mandalore by the possible General Grievous, that's what I'm going to keep calling it, whatever that thing was, that was something I had wondered about. I think I even, I'm pretty sure I talked about it in the reaction, was this, if he gets defeated by the thing and she takes the darksaber and uses it to defeat it, doesn't that mean that she now owns the darksaber? I had wondered about that then, and apparently Din, I don't know if he had been thinking the same thing all along, or if it was just something that occurred to him now as a solution to getting everybody on board. But clearly he followed the same reasoning. So now essentially, Bo-Katan is basically the leading contender now for the title of Mandalore. So now all she has to do is take everyone back to Mandalore and then tame the Mythosaur, right? So we'll see how that works. The first part was a lot of fun though. I liked having these episodes because in a way this mirrored the episode when Din went to Mandalore and was captured. It's basically sort of an episodes that are kind of about strengthening the bond between Din and Bo. And I don't know if that's just the standard kind of like buddy cop thing where we have to see their bond growing and see them face off against like, different situations and how they have differing approaches to solving them. Or there's also the possibility of shipping going on. This could be the beginning of a ship, which I'm here for it if it is, to be perfectly honest. That'd be pretty cool.
I ship them! Them! They hate each other, but they also fuck each other.
And it could be both of those things, and or the third possibility, setting us up for a major betrayal or fallout between the two. I'm not really sure where exactly they're going. On the surface, the simplest textual read is just what we saw. Din wholeheartedly supports her. Bo has good intentions. The darksaber now being hers, and the blessing of the armorer essentially gives her the ordination as the Mandalor from both major factions of the Mandalorians. So yeah, very intriguing to see where we're going with this. Again, getting back to the previous plot. I know I'm all over the place. You guys will get used to it if you're new here. I kind of go back and forth between different things I want to talk about. But in the earlier plot, I really love getting a little more insight into droid culture, or even just getting the idea that there is droid culture. The droids are very fascinating to me because they are slaves. They're more. The older I get, it's one of those things like when you're a little kid and you first encounter Star Wars. I think pretty much everybody first encounters Star Wars when they're a little kid, with a few exceptions. But like when you first encounter Star Wars, typically you're too young to even understand the concept of something like slavery, right? And so the droids are just kind of funny, and you don't really think too much beyond just the idea that they're machines, and some of them are bungling, some of them are scaredy cats, some of them, like R2, are absurdly brave and capable and things like that. But you don't really think about the deeper implications of the fact you have this entire race of artificial beings whose only purpose is to serve others, who have no real, independent agency, and who can be reprogrammed. And, those things seem very alien to us because we're only at the cusp of beginning to be able to do those sorts of things to ourselves. Because the thing you got to remember is this right here, nothing but a computer. It really is. It's just a computer that nature managed to haphazardly create over the course of billions of years,
Blasphemy!
But it functions on most of the same basic rules of computing. And we are getting to the point now where we are starting to be able to figure out how to manipulate it in ways that can change some of its programming, or at the very least some of the underlying motivations for the programming that's there. We've known for quite some time, for instance, that you can interfere with certain chemicals in the brain, certain receptors in the brain, and turn off emotions, provoke emotions, cause psychosis, all sorts of things, and we are, as far as we know, we're self-aware, we're sentient, sapient, all that kind of stuff. And we've gone through slavery and all of that. So you apply all of that experience to the droids. The droids are basically us, and they're just made a different way. And this entire galaxy is full of people who are totally all right with their enslavement. So it's interesting to me when Star Wars goes there, when it actually bothers to think about some of the implications and ramifications of its own world building. So that was a lot of fun for me seeing that, and it was great fun seeing Jack Black and Christopher Lloyd especially, and Lizzo. I think that was Lizzo, right? But anyway, she I think it was Lizzo. But she did an okay job. She's at that stage of acting that people go through who come from another performing field, where they haven't quite gotten the hang of how to deliver lines. That was really my only issue with her performance, and like I said, it's perfectly natural. You look at any of the actors who came from another field, they all pretty much go through it. Like, look at The Rock's early performances. Look at some other people that I can't think of the names of. But, you know, just think of people who came from something else. Like, you know, used to be musicians or used to be wrestlers or whatever, and decided to try their hand at acting. Think about Gina Carano, the first stuff we saw her in. They always go through, it's usually the part that they struggle with the most at first is line delivery. You know, facial emoting, as long as you're in touch basically with you know, your own expressions, which I think most of us kind of are. We may not know all the details of our expressions, but we know the basics. Facial emoting is not the hardest thing to get the basics of. It's hard to get a lot of the real nuances right, which is why the greatest actors do so much good work here. But the basics of facial emoting and body language emoting are not that hard. But I can tell you from experience, getting your inflection right, your cadence right, so that you sound natural when you're delivering a line is hard. That's one of the hardest things to nail when you first start acting, and people slowly grow into it. So I'm curious to see, you know, how she develops over time, because like those other people I just, you know, mentioned, you can see that there's progression as they got much, much better with each role in just line delivery, to the point where finally they were bona fide actors, you know. And so if she sticks with it, I'm sure she'll get to the same point, because her other stuff is already pretty much there, and then she can work on leveling up. But anyway, I digress.
Are you sure?
I am really interested to see where this goes from here, because now we have the Night Owls and their fleet following Bo-Katan as the Mandalor, because she has the darksaber. We have Night Watch,
who now?
And the Armorer, which I guess are poised to follow Bo-Katan. So it seems like each group has like a different thing they need to see from her, because I'm thinking Death Watch are the ones who really need to see the mythosaur brought back and tamed by the Mandalor, right? And, you know, Night Owls were the ones who needed the person to have the darksaber. And so if she can go and tame the mythosaur, then that proves to both of them that she's the Mandalor, because then she'll have both major symbols of the Mandalor, I guess, and the whole culture can be brought back together, and they will have a fleet that they can use to defend themselves. So now the only real question is, what exactly is Moff Gideon up to? Because we know that he's got personal issue with Mandalorians, it seems. And how's Thrawn play into all of this? So yeah, I'm definitely excited to see what's going to happen in the last 2 episodes of the season. Let me know what you guys thought of all of this and all the random stuff I rambled about. Feel free to ramble yourselves in the comments, and let me know what you think is going to happen as we get into episodes 7 and 8. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for joining me for this 6th episode of The Mandalorian Season 3, and I look forward to seeing you guys for the next one. As always, do your best to stay safe and be well, and may the Force be with you. Bye-bye.
Back when I used to sing in this barbershop quartet in Skokie, Illinois.
If you don't start answering questions, I'll yank your memory circuit and dissect it back at the lab.
There was a lawyer, Kobayashi.